Hello everyone and welcome to the Armenian News Network Groong Weekend Review for October 26, 2025. Yes, we're late in recording this, but here we are. Our apologies as we had numerous scheduling difficulties. And today we're talking with a member of the Armenian Parliament, Arthur Khachatryan.
Hovik, before we start the show, thank you for following us, everyone. We are grateful to have your trust in bringing you factual, truthful Armenian news. And as you know, we'd also like to earn your support. You can do that through our Patreon and Buy Me a Coffee pages, which you can access through podcasts.groong.org/donate. And you can hopefully become a sustaining member, or you can give once. Whatever works for you. But we know that not everyone is ready to do that. So in that case, you can still help us. Comment, like, and share our shows with your friends and colleagues and help them discover us. We always want to reach more people. Thank you, and on with the show.
Mr. Khachatryan, welcome back to the Groong podcast.
Well, thank you for the invitation. It's always a pleasure being with you.
Welcome on board.
Yeah, it's a pleasure having you. Mr. Khachatryan, you're fresh from the 12th ordinary session of the Euronest Parliamentary Assembly being held in Armenia this year, hosted by the National Assembly. It's going on from 28th to 30th of October this year. Tell us more about what this is, and I understand you're involved in some initiatives there. What is Euronest, and how is it different from all the other various bodies, if you can just in the European Assembly?
Well, European Parliamentary Assembly, Euronest Parliamentary Assembly, is just a venue, a platform that brings together the members of Parliament from the European Union, i.e., the members of the European Parliament, and also the members of national parliaments from the Eastern Partnership countries. Originally, it was like Moldova, Ukraine, Belarus, Armenia, Georgia, Azerbaijan, but Belarus has dropped off, so their membership is suspended. They've suspended their membership in Euronest. Georgians boycotted the session, obviously because of the position of the European Union regarding the policy implemented by the Georgian authorities and the tough wording used by the European Union when talking about the elections in Georgia and also the local elections in Georgia that took place pretty recently. And Azerbaijan also boycotted the session. And again, the reason, in my understanding, is that they don't like the policy of European Union towards Azerbaijan. And Moldovans were absent. There was one or two representatives of Moldova because their parliament was newly formed, and they haven't formed the delegation to Euronest. So basically, it were European MPs, few Ukrainians, and the Armenian delegation. But the rules of procedure say that it's valid. Okay, so even though the majority of Eastern Partnership countries were not there, the MPs were not there. Nevertheless, it was a legitimate session. Well, European Eastern Partnership is obviously a highly politicized organization, obviously. And given the tense relations between Europe and Russia, you can imagine the tones of the discussion. It was the main motive of the discussion. So this is mainly criticizing Russia, the Russia-Ukrainian war, of course, supporting Ukraine by European MEPs. Then they were harshly criticizing Georgia's government. And of course, they were praising Pashinyan, though I think the first time, I've been a member of Euronest for 4 years, the first time, few European MEPs also noticed, let me say it this way, or spoke about their concerns about the situation with democracy in Armenia. But the majority, of course, are praising Armenian democracy, and you understand why, okay? So since
I understand, but are they really aware of what's going on the ground in Armenia?
Well, I'm sure they have their embassies report what's going on in Armenia. In private conversations, some of them with whom we know for a long time, we have some relations, let me say it this way, not friendly, not but whom you know for 3-4 years, for instance. They understand what's going on, but since they believe that Pashinyan implements a pro-European policies, unfortunately, some of them have their eyes shut.
Yeah.
And we warned about the double standards, and that EU and Europe may lose credibility if they continue ignoring significant backsliding of democracy in Armenia, if they don't notice or pretend they don't notice Pashinyan's attack against the local self-governance, against the press, against the attorneys, against the clergy, against the opposition. So this was the story.
Yeah, there was one, I think, Spanish member of Europarliament who
Gotcha.
mentioned that, we know about these things, and if you Armenia want to become an EU member candidate, then there will be investigations. But the problem is, that's one voice, and I also don't know if the voice of the members of the parliament eventually translate into foreign policy.
Well, that's a very important observation, because when you look at the policy by the legislature, by European Parliament, we are pretty satisfied, because especially on the Artsakh front, there are several resolutions by European Parliament that condemns the destruction of Armenian monuments in Nagorno-Karabakh, in Artsakh, the demands, the calls to release the Armenian prisoners unconditionally and immediately, the calls to guarantee safe return of Armenians, to the ethnically cleansed Armenians, to their homes in Artsakh. Unfortunately, on the executive level, we see that they are much, let me say, milder towards Azerbaijan. And obviously, this is because of few countries in European Union heavily depend on Azeri gas supply, fuel supply. We tabled an amendment, because originally in the text, in the report, there was a call to pursue with the issue of Armenian prisoners and destruction of Armenian monuments and right of return. So we want a tougher language, basically calling on Azerbaijan to release the prisoners, to guarantee the return of the refugees, and to stop destruction of Armenian monuments.
And I assume the amendment is still up for a vote.
The vote will take place 9 a.m. Armenia's time. Okay, so it will be pretty late in LA.
Well, yes, I guess the outcome of this meeting will be next week. But actually, you mentioned something I want to just get your thoughts on. Armenia has made its intention and has codified its intention to join the European Union as a law. You talked about the role of the executive body in the European Union. I know that many states within the EU are complaining about the lack of national sovereignty, and this situation is getting worse. So, for instance, Hungary, I guess, is one of those. What can you tell us about the EU as a structure, the sovereignty that will transfer from Armenia to the EU, and the fact that basically European parliamentarians it seems like they are doing the right thing, they're voting on the right motions in the European Parliament, but the executive body is making all the calls. So I don't want to devalue your effort, but with all the great effort you're doing in this Parliamentary Assembly Euronest meeting, von der Leyen tomorrow will go and shake hands with Aliyev, praise Aliyev, sign contracts with Azerbaijan, and they will make sure not to mention any negative things about Azerbaijan.
Well, it's a very valid observation, but the executive cannot permanently ignore the opinion of the legislature. So sooner or later, they have to take that into account. Because if this becomes like issue of Artsakh of return of refugees, forcibly displaced Armenians, becomes a huge issue, then European Parliament can create a headache for the Commission. But talking about von der Leyen shaking hands with Aliyev, yeah, this is the reality, a sad reality. And actually, in one of my speeches during the plenary, I said that I hope you will not allow Azerbaijan continue blackmailing European Union and using their energy resources as a button against European democracy. And then you correctly mentioned about this law on the process of accession to European Union. However, it cannot be classified as a law in its classical sense, because law has to stipulate at least one behavior, okay? What you shall do or what you shall not do. So when you read this one paragraph law, it says, Armenia says it wants to join EU. And then the co-rapporteur on the floor of the National Assembly was the deputy foreign minister. And he said that this doesn't mean that tomorrow we will start the accession process. So the law, the government says the law just signals our intention to join European Union. But as of today, we are not going to take any steps. And the European bureaucrats say that, okay, once we receive our application, we'll think how to act.
So Armenia, I mean, geopolitically, it seems to be biding, its time, because Armenia is a member of the Eurasian Economic Union. Russians have said that you cannot have both. So I understand that, Armenia is trying, the civil contract leadership of Armenia is trying to be very sensitive about this. But in general, what does it even mean to join the European Union? How far? I mean, I don't want to rehash. We've discussed this in the past, but with all these repressions, all these anti-democratic things that are going on in Armenia, what is your real assessment, in a few words, of Armenia's likelihood and even qualification to be a member of the EU?
Well, if you ask me whether in a foreseeable future Armenia will join the EU, I will say no. Georgia and Moldova are on the top of the list. And I'm not sure whether Georgia or Moldova will join EU in the foreseeable, tomorrow or the day after. It will take a long process. Georgia tried to get into EU. They were very unsatisfied with the European policy towards their aspirations. And I think this is one of the reasons why they turned off or basically they froze this desire, and they have suspended the accession talks. And look at Turkey. I think Turkey tries to join the EU since 1959
for 50 years.
Something. Yeah, for more than 50 years, 19 something. I think more than 50 years. And if you analyze signals from European Union, implicit or explicit statements, the Europeans have said that they are going to freeze the enlargement, at least for a while. And especially the right-wing politicians, they say that they are very unhappy with the expansion process. And there were other thoughts saying that, taking into account the bad precedent with Hungary, with what Viktor Orban does, they will consider having two-layer membership. Like the new countries that will join or probably will join EU may not have voting rights. Of course, I'm not saying that this is official position of Brussels. However, there are already signals like that coming from European Union. So I really don't think that in few years' time, Armenia will even start. They will even start the accession negotiations. Obviously, they want to keep Armenia in Europe's orbit. Obviously, if I were in Brussels, I would do the same, and trying to keep Armenia as far from Russia as possible. And now Armenia has to decide, because you cannot be member of two economic and political unions. And Armenia is very much dependent on trade with the Eurasia Economic Union. Well, actually, with Russia.
So I'm going to take that segue because I think this relates to it also. Last Wednesday, Ilham Aliyev was in Astana, Kazakhstan, and he announced that Azerbaijan was lifting all restrictions on the transit of goods to Armenia via its territory. He also said that if all countries involved in the unblocking work as fast as Azerbaijan does, then the so-called Zangezur corridor would be open by the end of 2028. Now, one can guess that your colleagues in the parliament from the Civil Contract Party were quite enthused with this, right? Meanwhile, the opposition, as well as various Armenian analysts, were rather skeptical and raised many issues and concerns. Now, if we were to accept this unblocking at face value, what are the positives for all involved countries, including Armenia? Now, are all roads and trains and air traffic, is everything opened? Can Armenian airlines fly through Azerbaijani territory to Kazakhstan, for example? What's going on?
Well, if you read the joint statement of Aliyev and Pashinyan, they said that Armenia would grant an unhindered access of Azerbaijan from western part of Azerbaijan through Armenia to Nakhichevan.
That's right.
Unhindered access with mutual benefits. So when this document was signed, when we had the Q&A session at the parliament, during the parliament sessions, we were asking, what do mutual benefits mean? Because in 2001, Pashinyan was saying we shall open the corridor and Azeris shall pay and use this corridor to get from Nakhichevan to Azerbaijan and in the opposite direction. So money for transit, this can be a mutual benefit. But they were saying that, no, this means Azerbaijan would give us access, this means lifting blockade and blah, 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 blah. When we're saying that, you know what, if the Sadarak-Yeras part of the railway is not renovated, then it's a dead end for Armenia. Azeris will cross through Sunik from Kovsakan, they call it Zangelan, they will go to Nakhichevan, then they go up to north, and then they will go to west, because to east, the Yeras-Sadarak part of the railway is not constructed, it's gone. Okay, it's ruined. But Azerbaijan hasn't said that they are going to reconstruct these few kilometers that will link Arat Mars to Sunik Mars through Nakhichevan. So this basically means that we are giving them an unhindered access, which is nothing else but corridor, because if a Japanese wants to get into Armenia from Bagration, he cannot enter Armenia unhindered. There are some procedures, customs procedure, border control procedures. Unhindered access means they can use this road as if it's Baku-Sumgait road. Okay, so what does this mutual benefit mean? It's getting more and more clear. Okay, so Azerbaijan would allow just to use its territory, but they were not open border crossing with Armenia, at least for time being. And when Pashinyan's party members say, okay, the blockade is lifted, we have new doors open, the new doors are opened for Armenia, I asked them, okay, let's go and see where the doors are. Okay, it's like you have to go through Azerbaijan to Georgia and then to Armenia. This means that Azerbaijan hasn't lifted the blockade, the border is still closed. For real deblocking, Azerbaijan should grant Armenia an access through its territory to north, because, like I'm talking about Ijevan-Kazakh railway, because even it's much closer even to go to Tbilisi through that railway rather than from Yerevan to Gyumri and then to Tbilisi. It's much closer. Then it shall grant Armenia access or right to use Azeri territory to go to east towards Caspian Sea and to hook up with the middle corridor. Yeah. But they don't speak about that. In his interview to Armen Press on the 8th of January, Pashinyan said, we made a proposal. He said, more than a proposal, on opening up of the railway connection Zangelan, Megri, Nakhichevan, Sadarak, Yeras. And I asked them, and I asked the chief of staff of Pashinyan today, any progress on opening up this small thing? And nothing was, no information was provided. But even if they open that pass, this may improve the efficiency of intra-Armenian transportation. But if they don't open the road to West through Turkey, or if they don't allow Armenia to use Julfa that connects Azerbaijan, Nakhichevan with Iran, then Armenia will be blocked on the West. And if Azerbaijan does not allow Armenia to drive through or to use Azeri railway to go to north to Russia and to Georgia and to Caspian Sea, Armenia still will be in blockade. So it's a big bluff.
Yeah.
So what problems is Aliyev actually solving with this move, Arthur? Whether it's domestic to Armenia, domestic to Azerbaijan, whether it's geopolitical or regional, what are the problems that he is trying to solve?
Well, basically, in return to this unhindered access, he has to give something. And this something is just allowing, and I think it's just a single, it's a one-off event. They've spoken about allowing grain from Aktau, from Kazakhstan, to be transported to Armenia via Georgia, via Azerbaijan rail. That's it. I don't know whether this will be like a permanent thing. They've permanently lifted the blockade, or they are talking about one single event.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to see how much grain is imported into Armenia through that road. Because logistically, it will be much cheaper if Armenia uses South Russia, Georgia, Armenia, the large pass. But if private businesses calculate and they think it's profitable to import grain from Kazakhstan, why not? But presenting this transit as a deblocking of Armenia, this is immoral. This is not true.
So at the time when it looks to us like the Civil Contract Party is starting to launch its 2026 elections, is the timing of Aliyev opening this route just a coincidence, or is he trying to give them a gift and make them look good and help them get reelected? Because it's clear that Aliyev likes Pashinyan.
Oh, obviously, especially after the meetings in Istanbul between Aliyev and Erdogan and Pashinyan, and after the meeting in Abu Dhabi between Aliyev and Pashinyan, Azeri press was pretty blunt about that Pashinyan is the most favored candidate. They are just threatening the Armenian opposition directly. So obviously they will do anything to give Pashinyan higher chances to win in the elections, because they understand that Pashinyan's popularity is on its historical minimum. The signing of this declaration between Aliyev and Pashinyan, I think it increased Pashinyan's popularity by 5-6 percentage points only. So nothing substantial.
Right.
Okay.
But I think I have reasonable doubts to think that on the verge of elections, Pashinyan will get other gifts from Aliyev.
Well, while all of this theater is happening on the international stage and between Armenia and Azerbaijan, Pashinyan is really cracking down at home. And we talked a little bit about it, but in the past 2 weeks, the attacks against the Catholicos of all Armenians, Garegin II, have intensified. Pashinyan's regime has now 2 archbishops, a bishop, and many priests and vicars.
Heads of 3 dioceses are in jail.
Yeah, so the heads of the Shirak diocese,
Aragatsotn and Tavush.
Yeah, Aragatsotn and Tavush. Armenia has, I don't know how many dioceses, but 3 of the major ones are now headless. a bunch of priests are and vicars are also under arrest. Additionally, they're empowering a defrocked priest. So the Armenian government found the priest. He used to go formerly known as Father Aram. He can no longer be called that because he has been defrocked. His name is Stepan Asatryan. Yes. Despite being defrocked, he held a mass on Sunday at Hovanavank. And Pashinyan made it a point to attend that mass. He said that he would accept communion from the hands of the defrocked priest. And essentially, Pashinyan is trying to legitimize this defrocked priest. And it's a very dangerous situation, in my opinion. Pashinyan, of course, added that he'll attend next Sunday as well. So it's clear that there is a all-out effort to cut out the Catholicos from all of his trusted circles and disable him from leading the church. Pashinyan has vowed to unseat the Catholicos. And at the same time, all of the other close associates of the Catholicos, like the pro-government media, we're spreading vile and unconfirmed and reports about Ashak Serpazan. So where is this all going to end up? What are the short and long-term goals of this government? It seems like he basically wants to destroy the Armenian Church, if you ask me. But am I missing something? How is he going to, if he has Catholicos, if he attacks Catholicos and removes Catholicos, how is he going to put the church back together if that is his goal to begin with?
Well, what's really nasty in this business is that they've leaked out some nasty videos saying that people on this video, belong to the church, are high-ranked clergymen, which I'm not sure it's true. But what's nasty is that they've just filmed people. They just keep filming people, their private lives.
In their own bathrooms. I mean, this is if that is true. So let's just say it's not confirmed.
Well,
but
it doesn't matter. It can be a high-level clergyman. It can be just a janitor. But they're just filming people in their own bathrooms, and they are using these videos to blackmail people, to compromise the people. This is unacceptable. So on the state level, they are just violating privacy. So back to church, obviously, Pashinyan wants to destroy any institution that any pillar of Armenia's identity. He wants to create a new nation. He wants to create a new church. So this is his goal. And I wouldn't be surprised that very soon there will be another big concession to Azerbaijan, and the attack on church and this nasty show in Hovanavank was just to distract the attention of the public.
Yeah.
Because in late July, early August, there was another wave of anti-church, in summer. You remember in June, July, there was a big wave of anti-Catholicos, anti-church campaign, and on the 8th of August we saw this document initialed by Mirzoyan and his Azeri counterpart.
Yeah, tactically he's distracting the public, but strategically also I think that
he ruins the pillar that are very important for Armenia's identity. He wants to create a new nation, a new church, and control everything.
Yeah, I mean, this is the Armenian Church can trace the Catholicos can trace their origin back to the apostles Thaddeus and Bartholomew, right? So it's unclear how a civilian can cut that heritage and appoint his own people that he wants. This is and how it can still be called the Armenian Church,
This is
the Armenian Apostolic Church
to start with.
Yeah,
because according to the Constitution, state, the secular power and the spiritual part, the church, are separated.
Yeah.
The state cannot interfere into church's internal affair. So this is, the prosecutor shall have an investigation into this matter. But of course, I'm not that naive to believe in it.
Yeah.
It
And we
seems
know
like
where
the
that
government's
investigation will end.
interpretation is that the church cannot have any say in the government, including the fact that church people may not have an opinion on political matters. Meanwhile, they can decide who should be Catholicus.
No. Basically, no. It's very dangerous. Okay,
Of course.
The clergyman shall pray only. The scientists shall make new discoveries only. Who else? Okay, the engineers shall do their civic or mechanical or industrial engineering. The painters shall paint. What does this mean? Okay, alienating people from politics, making idiots, because idiot means a person who is not interested in politics.
That's right.
Okay, so you want to create a nation of idiots?
They want everyone excluded except a small circle of people.
So with all this going on, I mean, we get asked this question a lot. Why is the Armenian public not moved to act? It seems like they're docile. They're like, tranquilized. And isn't it the role of the opposition to also,
Well, the discontent with Pashinyan, okay, is very, very high. His popularity is on the lowest level, historical minimum. Okay, it's like a fog. Okay, it's like a fog. And I hope that this fog will become a cloud, will condense. Some of them are in despair. Some of them are in apathy. Some of them are looking for new leaders. Some of them are ready to go to the streets. Some of them are waiting for elections to go and to vote against Pashinyan. Okay, but the level of trust, the level of support Pashinyan enjoys is very, very low. And again, and maybe this is the reason why he launched all this attack against Samuel Karapetyan, because a pretty substantial or big part of the society perceives Samuel Karapetyan as a new leader. Some of them don't. Doesn't matter. But anyway, Pashinyan is afraid that the opposition will unite, or even if they don't unite before the elections and after the elections, the Gyumri scenario will repeat.
Okay, so on to further repressions in other areas. The mayor of Gyumri was arrested last week or detained, triggering protests, court motions, and a flood of statements from both allies and critics. Supporters call the case political and demand due process. Meanwhile, government figures say the investigation follows the law. Police made further detentions around rallies and hearings, and we understand that access to media is also restrained. We know that lawyers filed appeals and challenged the grounds for custody, but the end result is that Vartan Ghukasyan, the mayor of Gyumri, is still in detention, in pretrial detention. The main takeaway from this, I mean, we'll talk more about the actual event, but it seems like just like in Vanadzor, whenever someone that the civil contract doesn't like wins, after you beat them in elections, they suddenly become criminal. So how do you think this will affect the equation of quorum in the Gyumri City Council? Let's begin with that, because it seems like clearly they've been chipping away at members of the Gyumri City Council to begin with. We know, I believe there's one more city council member who was detained.
Basically, yeah, there's also another member of the city council under custody. Well, as of now, the ruling coalition in Gyumri maintains the majority. I don't know what will happen next, but the law allows to maintain the majority. Okay, the mayor of Gyumri or other members of city council are under custody or are detained. If they hand on their mandate, resign as members of the city council, then the people on the party list, the other people on the party list, will take the mandate and replace them in the city council. Of course, I believe that Pashinyan will do everything to attract people from that list, but I don't know whether we will succeed or not.
Yeah. So do you think that one of the reasons that people who are detained or who might be detained in the future are not putting down their mandate so that someone else can follow them is because they're being compelled not to?
I don't have any reasons to believe in that. Okay, I'm
Mm-hmm.
just speculating what are the theoretical possibilities.
Right.
Okay, so someone can defract, someone may just resign. I don't know. This is just theoretical thing. They've tried that. They did that, for instance, in Tallinn. I remember what happened in Tallinn. In Bert, when the elected mayor was detained, not to shake the majority, he resigned as Mr. Manucharyan, Haruthan Manucharyan, if I'm not wrong. He just resigned. So the number two resigned, and the new people come, and they have the majority in Bert community.
Yeah.
But it's obviously that Pashinyan want to maintain to get control of Gyumri, the second largest town, before the national elections, and we will be having like in community of Vagar in Echmetsin, they will have local elections in less than 3 weeks, and of course for them it will be just crucial. If they lose the elections,
Vagar is the home of Echmetsin as well, so it has a symbolic meaning as well.
They lose in Vagar they will reconsider, or they will decide to go to regular elections. If they win in Vagar I do not exclude the possibility of having snap elections.
Yeah, okay. So I want to tie this issue of Gyumri back to your initial discussion where we talked about Armenia's membership into the EU. So what's interesting is that Vartan Ghukasyan was arrested for corruption, but apparently his charges were not enough. So just 2 days ago, the government found it necessary to file an additional charge against him based on Article 422 of the Criminal Code, which calls, and I'm quoting, public calls for seizure of power, violation of territorial integrity, renunciation of sovereignty, or violent overthrow of constitutional order. This law was passed under the Pashinyan regime, to be, just to be clear. And what did Ghukasyan do to deserve this? Apparently,
well, I think Ghukasyan
he supported.
said,
Yeah. So, right. Did he support that Armenia should consider joining the union state between Russia and Belarus? Is that his?
Basically, he didn't say explicitly the union state between Russia and Belarus.
Mm-hmm.
He's a pro-Russian politician, but in his statement, he said about the necessity to join a union to guarantee the security of the country. And when you join any sort of union, you surrender part of your sovereignty.
So how is this different from Armenia? Yeah, so how is this different from Armenia joining the EU? Like, making calls to join the EU?
No difference. No difference. Why did the United Kingdom leave European Union? Because they thought that being member of EU cost too much for them to surrender. The price of being member of EU was too high, and they have surrendered a big part of their sovereignty. Or if Armenia joins EU, Armenia joins, I don't know, NATO, Armenia joins Shanghai Organization of Cooperation, Armenia joins BRICS, Armenia has joined already the Eurasian Trade Union, Economic Union. Even if an individual marries, he or she surrenders part of his or her independence.
Okay, so am I understanding clear that the reason for this arrest? So if I, hypothetically speaking, go on public TV in Armenia tomorrow and say that Armenia should join the union state, or I support Armenia joining the union state between Russia and Belarus, I will be charged with violent,
by treason. By treason.
Wow.
And you'll be in pro detention. You'll be deprived of visits, and you'll get a sentence. So this is direct violation of freedom of speech. Okay, so basically, if someone says joining EU, this is not crime. Joining any union without a specification what kind of union, for that you can be jailed.
Yeah, and I know I'm getting close to being jailed here, but I'm going to say this too. When I looked at the sovereignty that you give up when you join the EU and you join the union state with Russia and Belarus, at least on paper, the sovereignty you give up to Russia and Belarus is much less than you would give up to EU. I mean, I'm not saying Armenia should join the Russian state, the union state between Russia, but you know that. So I just don't understand how this can hold up in any court. But maybe with this politicized environment, worldwide.
Well, this is power grip, okay? He just wants to kick all his political opponents out of the game. I won't be surprised if he bans political parties like Khachatryan. If he rejects registration of Samuel Karapetyan's political party.
Mm-hmm.
So this is it.
Yeah,
he understands, again, I want to repeat this once more, okay? He understands that his popularity is on historical minimum, and he just wants to clear his road and lock all of his political opponents with his funny charges.
Okay, Arthur, since we are running out of time, let me just wrap up our topics and ask each of you for a final thought that you might want to share with our listeners. Hovik, do you have anything that's on your mind?
Well, I mean, I think that I was just thinking about the level of effort that has gone into getting photographs and videos, if they're correct, of clergymen. It makes me think if they can do that with clergymen, and we know that many other opponents of this regime have had similar things, have had similar compromise against them. I just wonder if maybe the size of the Armenian NSS is maybe secretly maybe 10 times bigger than what it is, what is publicly reported, because it requires immense amount of resources to tail all of these opponents and anyone who might say anything about you and collect this information and store it for years ahead, just so they can use it one day. And it's a dire state of affairs in Armenia. It's a complete surveillance state, illegally obtained, surveillance that is essentially being stored and used against you. And here we have European parliamentarians praising the government of Armenia, and Armenia at least pretending formally to be part of the European family of nations. I guess it's a surreal state of affairs, to be honest.
We're going to have to talk to a cybersecurity expert one more time. I mean, you are one, but we should have a conversation with a couple of our colleagues in Armenia to discuss how this is actually happening. Where is this data passing through? Who is seeing it?
I mean,
who's got
just
access?
The fact is, like,
it's
if
alarming.
That's true, it is alarming, and there's no other way that these videos could have leaked other than it being in the hands of the Armenian secret services.
There is a joke in Armenian, okay? It says, to be on the safe side, take shower in your underwear.
Well, that's very sad. I'm laughing, but
this
is
a very black joke. It's a very black joke.
Arthur, what's on your mind?
Basically, I want to just a very maybe for another show. Okay, I'm not sure whether you have listened to Pashinyan's budget address on Monday. It was about 1 hour, 55 minutes was budget for dummies. But he sent a very important message speaking about army. He says we shall change the perception of the army. We shall not call it Martunak Banak, like
combat ready.
Combat ready.
We're not supposed to say combat ready, but defense capable.
We shall call it defense capable army. It immediately reminded me about the Potsdam Treaty, German capitulation, and Japanese capitulation, when the winning nations have imposed restrictions on the use of armed forces by German armed forces and Japanese armed forces. So this means we see another demand imposed by Azerbaijan against the Republic of Armenia. Like few days before the war, before the 44-day war, on the 21st of September, 1 week before, Pashinyan presented his vision called Armenia 2050, strategic transformation, Armenia's transformation strategy. And one of the goals in this strategy was to have per capita most combat ready army. What does per capita combat ready? No one knows. I've spoken to many military people, high ranking generals. They said that's crazy, that term, Mekshinchi Hashvov.
Yeah.
But now he says the word combat ready may send the wrong signal, because some people will think that we are ready for combat operations on their territory. And now let's change the mission of the army as defense ready army. So I don't know what will be the next demand imposed by Azerbaijan. This was a very, very troublesome statement, very troublesome.
And I'm pretty sure that defense ready also excludes the territory currently occupied by the army of Azerbaijan.
Oh yeah, this is
so
fine.
anyway, that's a separate,
They say that Azerbaijan will withdraw its armed forces in the process of delimitation. Delimitation is that you know where the border, when you draw the border line, okay, 1 inch here, the other inch there. But Azeris know that they have invaded into Armenian territory. So withdrawal of occupying forces has nothing to do with the delimitation and demarcation of the border. So new surprises are waiting for us in the near future.
We've said for 5 years now that as long as you keep a loser in office, the bar on success is very low. All right, let's leave it there for today, Arthur. Thank you so much for joining us. We hope to talk with you to see if there are any interesting outcomes from Euronest.
Well, yeah, it's always a pleasure being hosted by you. So let's see.
Talk to you soon.
Looking forward to
Bye-bye.
your next opportunity. Take care. Have a nice day.
Bye-bye.
That was our weekend review, and it was recorded on October 29, 2025. We've been talking with Mr. Arthur Khachatryan, who is an MP from the Hayastan Dashink Armenia Alliance and is a member of the ARF Dashnak Tsutyun. And in the past, he has held government posts such as Deputy Minister of Territorial Administration and Development. He's been Governor of Shirag and Minister of Agriculture. For more information on all of us, just go to podcast.groong.org/episode number. Check out the show notes, and we'll have everything in there.
Folks, don't forget to hit that like button, share our episode, and help us in any way you can on social media. It's much appreciated. And then if you can make a donation, why not? Podcasts.groong.org/donate. We prefer recurring donations, but you can do a one-shot donation or a monthly donation. It's your choice.
Wonderful. I'm Asbed Bedrossian in hot Los Angeles.
And I'm Hovik Manucharyan in an even hotter second floor bedroom in Los Angeles.
Take care, folks. We'll talk to you next week.